All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sean here at Zyxel. This is our monthly new partner introductions. It's basically here for those of you that are new Zyxel partners to get an overview of some of the products we sell, a little background on who we are at Zyxel, and answer some of your questions you may have about us. Um, I know we are not a household brand that everyone recognizes and is familiar with. And oftentimes, when talking to VARs at shows or when we go out and do meetings, it turns out people, have come to us for a certain product line that they're familiar with us is offering, but not realizing that we've got some other products that they may also be interested in. So today, it's going to be a very high-level overview going through all of the different products and product lines that are sold through Zyxel channel, or at least most of them. Um, I am going to be going pretty fast, so if you have any questions, you can use chat or the Q&A to send in questions, and I'll take a look at those. Um, and I guess without any further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So a little background on Zyxel, or Zyxel Networks. We've been in business for over 35 years. We got started all the way back in 1989 making computer networking products, and we're still making networking products today. Our global headquarters is based out of Hsinchu, Taiwan. So that's where our corporate headquarters has been ever since the early days. Our US offices are based out of Anaheim, California, and we've been in the same little stretch of Anaheim and Placentia, known as the Anaheim Canyon, since the 1980s. So we've been doing this for a long time. When you call in, you are calling into somebody who's probably working out of our Anaheim office. Um, if you're calling in for tech support, you're dealing with our Anaheim office. Marketing's here in Anaheim. Our warehouse is here. Operations is here. We do have some remote workers working on in the sales team. We also, if you call in for tech support and it's outside of our normal business hours, depending on what the hour you call in, you may get redirected to our German offices. And I think there's one other office we redirect people to, but we don't use third parties. So when you're talking to someone in support, you are talking to someone here at Zyxel. Looks like I got ahead of myself here. It's just showing all the other different offices that we have. So North America is based out of Anaheim. And for some reason, the dot is up there in Vancouver. And our Central American office is based out of Guatemala. And for some reason, the dot is there in Baja California and or San Diego. But anyway, we have global operations, and it is one of the challenges you do run into when it comes to finding our videos on YouTube, is there are a lot of different Zyxel YouTube channels running by the different offices. So Zyxel Networks itself is a sister company to a bunch of other sister companies here. We're all under the Zyxel group. That is our parent company. So Zyxel Networks is our channel business. So that's mainly focused on things like access points, networking switches, um, firewall products, basically stuff being used by small to medium businesses. We have a sister company known as Zyxel Communications. So Zyxel Communications is our ISP branch. So they're primarily focused on things like CPE devices um, for ISPs, maybe some metro area switching, and there is some overlap between these two. So, we do sell some CPE devices. They do sell some of our switches and things like that. But they are two separate companies with two separate focuses on where their business is. And then the other one I wanted to highlight on here is MitraStar. So MitraStar is our manufacturing arm. So MitraStar has factories in both Taiwan and in China where our products are being made. Most of our products at the moment are being moved to Taiwanese production, at least as far as access points and things like that go. And I think we are looking at moving production of some of our switches and things like that to other countries, such as possibly Thailand or Vietnam going forward. This is all a reaction to a lot of the things going on in the world today as far as tariffs go. So, our vision here as part of Zyxel Networking is to be able to provide you affordable products that are still high quality, featuring advanced features. So here at Zyxel Networks, the main focus of our products today that we're going to be talking about are our switches, our access points, and our security products, as well as Nebula. And in fact, we're going to go ahead and start with Nebula because Nebula is kind of like the glue that reaches out and touches all of our different product lines and holds them together. So what is Nebula? Nebula is the first the first full stack cloud networking solution aimed at the small business market. So we launched Nebula all the way back in 2016. So back then when we got started, most of your solutions that were out there as far as when it comes to cloud management were aimed at the enterprise, such as Meraki, who then got bought by Cisco, um, or companies that were aimed primarily at just doing Wi-Fi access points and nothing else, just trying to offload the local controller for larger AP deployments. So we looked at what was going on in that space and we said, cloud management makes a lot of sense. It makes things easier. But no one's really targeting the same market that we are, which is the small business or small to medium business space. So we decided to jump in there. So Nebula launched in 2016, and we've been continuously improving it and making it better ever since. So it gives you what's probably the most full-featured and reliable solution that's out there today, aimed at the SMB space. So Nebula, in order to use Nebula, it doesn't require any additional hardware, any additional software, or any additional licenses to be purchased. It is a completely free solution that allows you to manage our access points, our switches, our security firewall gateways, and our LTE outdoor router, and maybe some more products in the future, all through a single unified interface. It is all zero touch, so there is nothing you have to do on the hardware itself to get it to be put into cloud managed mode. You don't have to log into the GUI and switch modes. You don't have to point it to a server somewhere or anything like that. It's simply plug and play and it works. So it gives you a unified and centralized place to view what's going on for your networks that you manage. It was built from the ground up with the idea that you're going to have lots of customers, and those customers may have lots of networks. So it's always been designed with the idea to make it easy to quickly find your customer that you're trying to get to, find the site that you're trying to get to, and make it easy to jump between them as you're trying to support multiple customers. Again, it's zero touch provisioning, nothing you need to do on the hardware itself for the most part. And we'll go through some of that. And of course, it's built-in multi-site management here. So setting up Nebula is pretty easy. You just go to nebula.zyxel.com. You log in with your My Zyxel account. And you set up an organization. So in Nebula terms, an organization is usually going to be your customer. So each of your customers will have their own organization in the Nebula interface. And then under the organization, you'll have sites. So you go ahead and create an organization for a customer, or maybe for yourself as a test, and then create a site underneath that. Once you get your Zyxel hardware, you will find that there are QR codes on the outside of the box and or on the belly label of the product itself. You simply scan that in and assign it to your customer and their site. Plug in your Nebula hardware. It will automatically detect that you want to manage it in cloud mode, put itself into cloud mode, and you can manage it there through the Nebula interface. So very simple, easy to set up. The one exception to this is some of our security products. So some of the security products have extra step or two that may be required to put them in the cloud mode, which is just done to make sure nobody, hijacks the hardware and takes something that you plan and want to use locally and put it into cloud mode by mistake or maliciously. Um, but otherwise, everything else is just going to be scan and go. So we give you a free Nebula mobile app, which is designed to be used on phones, not on tablets. For tablets, we want you using the Nebula web interface, but for mobile phones, it's there for you. So it gives you the ability to quickly check on your customers and their sites. It allows you to make some very basic configuration changes. Some would say your basic Wi-Fi setting changes, but full configuration needs to be done through the web browser. And that's just because there's too much stuff, right? This isn't home user stuff. This is business networking, and there's just too many options and too many different things that need to be configured to make it, doable really on a mobile device. Um, But one of the nice things about the mobile device is you can create what are basically installers. So you can create an installer level admin whose only job is to be able to add devices to a customer site. So you send them on site, these scan the hardware as they plug it in, assign it to the customer. And we give you the ability also to photograph the install as you put it in and map where you've installed it onto a Google map or into your own map that you've imported into Nebula, to make it easier for future people if they have to go on site to be able to find where that hardware is. And it'll also give you notifications and things like that through the mobile app. So again, to use Nebula, there's no extra hardware or software required. There's no cloud keys or CNA devices. There is no, virtual machines that need to be set up anywhere. We host and manage Nebula ourselves as far as the cloud portion goes. We keep that up and running for you. And as far as the hardware goes, the agent is built into our APs, switches, and other devices directly. So you will see the term Nebula Flex, and I want to explain that. So when we got started with Nebula back in the day, um, we copied the Cisco Meraki route of doing things, right? Where if you wanted cloud management, you bought Meraki. If you wanted traditional management, you bought Cisco. And we've gotten away from that. Instead, what we've done is we've combined Nebula into all of our hardware. So anything that supports Nebula will be labeled as Nebula Flex, but you don't have to use Nebula to manage it. So by default, all of our hardware will be local management out of the box. Your traditional way of doing things, whether that's through the GUI, through SSH, SNMP, whatever it is you happen to want to use. But all these devices also have Nebula agents built in, so you can quickly and easily change the device from local to cloud management. So that's why we use the term Nebula Flex, because it gives you the flexibility to do traditional management or to do cloud management on the same hardware using the same SKU. So that way you can standardize and buy the same SKUs for all your customers, share it amongst all your customers, even if you're not using cloud management for all of them. So to put a device into cloud mode, it's really easy. You scan that QR code, you assign the device to your customer and site, and the device will automatically detect that and automatically reboot itself into cloud mode and download the configuration from the cloud. If at any point you want to take it out of cloud mode and put it back to traditional management, maybe you're upgrading the hardware at one customer and moving the device to another customer site. Um, all you do is go into Nebula, remove the device from your inventory, and the device will detect that and automatically reboot itself into standalone mode and factory reset the configuration. And from there on, you're good to go. And you can switch back and forth as many times as you like. Now, configurations are not shared between the two modes, so that is something to keep in mind. Now, Nebula is free. It's what we call our base pack. It's absolutely free. There is no limit to the number of customers you can manage, no limit to the number of sites you can manage, no limit to the number of devices you can manage. We do have some optional licenses that you can buy that upgrade and add additional features. So the first two here are our Plus and Pro packs, which unlock some additional features for you. And most of these features are aimed at the back end. Back end type stuff that you would use for troubleshooting or management and things like that, for the most part. So Plus Pack is something that we came out with fairly recently, and it's something that's aimed to compete with some of the other lower end Soho or small office type cloud platforms that are out there today from like TP-Link and Netgear. Pro Pack is what we've been offering since day one, and it is by far our most popular option. And that is something that has a built-in 30-day trial. Anytime you create a new organization in Nebula, you have the ability to start a 30-day trial using ProPack to test out some of those extra features. And the way this works is it's done on an organization basis. So basically, you're upgrading an organization from base version to either Plus or Pro. And you do that by going into the organization and adding a license for each device in that organization. So once every device in that org has a Plus or Pro Pack license, the organization will upgrade itself to Plus or Pro Pack. We also offer what's called MSP Pack, and as the name implies, it's aimed at those of you that are larger managed service providers. This is a user account. So this is a license that you assign to one of your admin users, and it unlocks additional features for them. Basically, any site that they manage, they can go in and replace the Zyxel branding with your own company's branding. It gives you an MSP view, which is a high-level overview view of all of your customers that you're managing to make it really easy to see what's going on all of their networks. And it unlocks some additional features like the ability to do setting synchronization across multiple customers or clone existing organizations. So if you're creating a new org or a new customer, you can take one of your existing customers and clone them. Other services like that. We do have a monthly sort of Nebula introduction webinar where we go through this in a little bit more detail and more detail on the differences between the different licenses. You can also just go to our website, go to the Nebula page, and we've got comparisons up there for you as well. So when it comes to our hardware, this is sort of the breakdown of what products support Nebula. The top row up here, this is going to be what we call Nebula Flex products. The bottom row here are what we call Nebula Flex Pro products. And all that Pro means is that when you buy this device, it comes bundled with 1 year of Pro Pack with it. So for APs or N series APs, those are going to be Nebula Flex. The W series APs are going to be Nebula Flex Pro. So they'll come with that 1 year Pro Pack license. The W series also includes some extra features that are not tied to Nebula, and I believe we'll talk about those a little bit later when we talk about our APs. On the switches, basically the 1900 series of switches, those are Nebula Flex, and the 2000, 3000, and 1300 series switches are Nebula Flex Pro. And then when it comes to our security products, if you're buying a standalone device, it's Nebula Flex. If you're buying a device that comes with the UTM licenses or the Gold Pack licenses, that will also include a 1 year of Pro Pack for you. Now, again, you do not have to use cloud to manage our devices. You can still do local management on your products. We have both, the traditional way of doing things with direct management. We've also got some software tools that make it easy for you to find your Zyxel devices on your network, take you directly to their GUI, be able to push out firmware changes. And in the case of our access points, we do support local area controller, and the local area controller software is built into most of our security appliances. So now we'll move on and start talking about our Wi-Fi products. So we try to break our APs into 3 different categories. The N series access points are split into 2 different categories, essentially those where the model number is less than 100 and those where the model number is more than 100. So those that are less than 100 are traditionally our Soho type products. So these are extremely cheap, or extremely affordable, I guess I should say. Products that are out there for the smaller deployments for home users, prosumers, things like that. So these are still Nebula manage capable, but they do have a lesser warranty than our other products. Our business class products all come with a lifetime warranty. Our Soho products come with a 2-year warranty. There also may be some business type features that are missing from the software. For instance, the 50 series does not support captive portal. The 90 series does not support AP load balancing, etc. And then basically everything from the 100 series and higher is going to be a full featured product with the full access to all of the different features that we have built into Nebula or built into the devices themselves. So here we're looking at the N series greater than 100 and our W series. So we get a lot of questions on what's the difference between the two, because you will find very similar hardware configurations between these 2 models. Both groups lifetime warranty, both groups Nebula manageable. The W series, as mentioned a couple slides ago, comes with Pro Pack. The W series products are also where you're going to find our advanced antenna technology. So while the N series has your traditional ceiling mount standard AP antennas, our W series products may have dual optimized antennas or smart antennas, and we'll talk a little bit about those later. It's also where, for instance, our hospitality APs are and our heavy duty outdoor access points are. And then the W series are the APs you would buy if you want to use local controller. So if you don't want to use the cloud, but you've got a lot of these and you need a local controller to manage them, the W series supports that. The W series also supports Collaborative detection and response, where the AP and our USG Flex security appliances work together to protect not only against threats from the WAN, but also threats from wireless users coming onto the wireless network. They also support the ability to turn the access point into a remote VPN appliance, and some other features like that. So as mentioned, we have some advanced antenna technology that you don't find on most of our competitors. So some of our APs, have your traditional static antenna that's designed for ceiling mount. We have dual optimized and we have smart antenna. So the idea behind dual optimized is, again, your traditional AP is the antenna has been optimized with the idea that you're mounting your access point on the ceiling and it's covering the area below it in roughly a 360-degree pattern. We call it an umbrella coverage. But actually, out in the real world, you often end up having to mount your access points on a wall, rotated 90 degrees from where they're optimally designed to be. So because of that, you may not get the horizontal coverage you want, and you end up sending a lot of your signal into the floor and ceiling where it either gets lost or it can cause interference on other floors based on the materials that are there. So with dual optimized, we give you two sets of antennas. One antenna that's optimized for the traditional ceiling mount and one antenna that's optimized for wall placement. And then you can choose which set of antennas to use on each AP based on where you've installed them. The other technology we have is smart antenna. So that is a generic term, and I wish we would have come up with our own branding for this. Um, for those of you that are familiar with Ruckus products, our smart antenna is most similar to their BeamFlex Plus products. And basically, the idea behind this is instead of having one antenna optimized for ceiling or one antenna optimized for wall placement, we give you an array, what's called an antenna array. And we have an algorithm that can choose from hundreds of different antenna patterns and choose the antenna pattern that's optimized both for where the AP is placed in the environment, but also where the client device is in relationship to the access point. The main benefit of the algorithm that we are using is it also takes into account sources of RF interference. On the slides here, you've seen they've been using a microwave as the symbol for a source of interference. But in the real world, it's most likely going to be other access points, either other access points you're managing because there's not enough channels and you've got a lot of APs deployed, or it's your neighbors or your neighbor's business, or their access points that you don't have access to that are operating on those same channels. So smart antenna will optimize the antenna signal to shoot the beam towards where the client currently is, but also so it can ignore interference coming from other devices, such as other access points. And so because of this, in dense AP environments, we can get into a situation where you have two APs operating on the same channel, and you can achieve greater than 100% airtime utilization because both APs will be able to broadcast at the same time without interfering with each other. So it's really cool technology for any sort of environment where you've got either a lot of users or a lot of access points in the same area. So all of our business class APs use what we call an RF first design. So if you've ever had the chance to hold one of our APs and hold one of our competitors' APs, you will notice ours feel a lot heavier, and that has to do with that. We have additional shielding, both for EMI issues, but also to filter out interference from DAS systems broadcasting 4G and 5G signals inside the same building on neighboring channels. We also do some cool stuff, like we don't put our antennas on the main board like most of our competitors do, including our more expensive competitors. We instead put the antennas on their own dedicated boards, and on most APs, we'll have a shield between where our antennas are and where the main board is to help reduce signal to noise ratio and get you that better quality signal. The other thing to do, and this is why we can offer lifetime warranty even on $100 access points, is we design our APs to last. So one of the things we do is we only use solid state capacitors. We do not use any electrolytic capacitors because those fail over time. The other very common point of failure on a solid state device is has to do with thermal fatigue. So what we do is most of our APs will also have a metal shield under the PCBA to help draw heat off the board and out of the components so they can last longer. You'll also see we have a lot of vent holes on the top of the device specifically to allow the heat to escape, where some of our competitors out there have no vent holes whatsoever. And that's why we can offer a lifetime warranty at the same price point that they only offer a 1 or 2 year warranty. So moving on from access points to switches. And for any of those that joined us late, if you have questions or I'm going too fast, feel free to send something in using the webinar chat. So moving on to our switches. So we've got a lot of switches. I'm not going to be going through them all. There's so many, but I do want to go through how we name our switches because it'll help you find what you're looking for. If you know the specs you're looking for, you can use our naming to quickly narrow down which switches you should be considering. So all of our switches will start with a 2 or 3 letter prefix. So this will tell you the technology that's inside the switch. An ES series switch, all ports are 100 meg. We don't sell those here in North America anymore, but they are still available in some of our other regions. Our RG switches are ruggedized switches, all with 1 gig ports. The GS series are all 1 gig ports, including the uplink ports. MG switches are our multi-gig switches. So with an MG switch, all of the ports will be at least 2.5G. Depending on the model, they may be 5G, or you may have a mix of the two. XGS, the GS stands for the gigabit switches. So all of your main ports are 1 gig, but the X tells you that there are 10 gig uplink ports on those switches. XMG, so again, the MG is telling you it's a multi-gig switch, so all of the main ports are going to be 2.5G or faster. And the X tells you that there's going to be 10 gig uplink ports on those switches. And then an XS switch is telling you that all ports are at least 10 gigs on that switch. The other thing you will be looking at is we will have a suffix on many of the switches. So that's going to tell you basically PoE capability. So HP tells you that the switch supports PoE plus or PoE plus plus. EP tells you that the switch supports PoE plus or PoE plus plus, but that the power budget is reduced to keep costs down. So if you don't need as much PoE power, you're only powering a few devices or only some low powered devices, you can save a little money by going to the EP. I think that stands for eco power. And then FP is full power. And that's telling you that basically this switch supports PoE plus or PoE plus plus and has enough power budget to provide full power across all ports. So for the most part, most of you probably don't need that, but if you're doing something where you're doing a lot of IP cameras that require a lot of power, or you're using some of the heavy duty high-end Wi-Fi 7 access points, and you need, all the ports on the switch to be able to power up an access point or a camera, you may need the FP models. And then if you just see an F, that's telling you it's a fiber switch. All ports on that switch are fiber. There are no copper ports. And then the other thing you're looking at is sort of the numbers in the middle, right? So after the prefix, before the suffix, there were a bunch of numbers. And those numbers are generally going to tell you first what model series it is. And that'll give you an idea of what features are available. And then there will often be a dash with another number, and that's telling you generally the port count. So this is just showing you here our Soho switches. They have slightly different numbering, at least some of them do, than our business class switches. And this is just showing here we've got everything from 5 and 8 port unmanaged desktop switches all the way up to some very minimal web managed PoE switches and 10 gig switches that are available through the Soho line. So these are all desktop consumer type switches. And then our business switches, as I was mentioning earlier, we've got a lot. So again, you're looking at the series. And as a general rule, as the series gets bigger, the more features there are. So the 1000 or 1100 series, those are unmanaged. 1200 gets you some very, very basic web management. 1900 series is going to be our rack mount web managed switches. And then as you go up to the 1915, 1920, 1930, you're generally getting more technology. And basically everything from 1915 on up is going to be Nebula managed. So if you need inexpensive Nebula managed, the 1915 may work for you. If you need some more full features, you may need to go up to the 1930 or the 2000 series switches. So this is just showing here smart managed and cloud managed. Up here is our true layer 2 plus with command line interface for those of you that like that. And then going up here, we've got our layer 3 and layer 3 plus switches that are available for you. So again, by combining those numbers, you can sort of figure out what's going on with that switch, what sort of software features and management it offers, what sort of technology the ports support, and how many ports there are in the device. Now, that is one area where we do have, depending on the model line and how new it is, some disagreement. So you may see a 24 port switch advertised as -24. You may also see it advertised as a -28 or as a -30. And the reason for that is some switches include the uplink ports in their model name, some only include the main ports. So a 1915 24 HP may have 24 ports total. It may also have uplink ports that aren't counted, whereas a 28 HP tells you that there's 24 main ports plus 4 uplink ports available on that switch. So I think going forward, everything's going to include um, the uplink ports, but some of the models that have been around for a while don't include the uplink ports in the model name. So just highlighting here again, most of our switches are Nebula Flex, so they can be used in standalone or cloud managed mode. We have a full line of switches as we've gone through here. We've got lots of variety as far as PoE is offered for you. A lot of variety as it comes to multi-gig ports for supporting faster deployments, especially now with even low-end Wi-Fi 7 devices being able to support more than 1 gig throughput, etc. So one of the cool things about our switches is most of our business class switches, basically everything, I think 1900 and up, operates on our own operating system called Zyxel. So most of our competitors are taking, switches from different ODMs, different chipset vendors, and they're taking the software that comes from that chipset vendor, reskinning it in their name, and putting it out there, especially on the lower end stuff. And the challenge with that is features may be named differently between different switches from the same vendor. Some of the configuration options may be different, etc. So instead of us doing that, we have our own Zyxel operating system that runs on the hardware. So that way there is a unified interface across different model lines. So the model lines have the same GUI, the same features. The features are named the same. They're configured the same. If you're one of those guys out there that likes your command line interface and stuff like that, that's consistent between the different models. The SNMP support and the MIB, it's the same MIB across all of our different models. So it helps simplify things and make things easier for you to do if you're not using these in the cloud. And just like our access points, we put a lot of time and effort into the engineering on the hardware to make sure it can last. And that's why all of our switches support a lifetime warranty. So one thing I wanted to highlight here, and this is an area that causes some confusion and issues, especially for those that are sort of new into networking. And that has to do with PoE power and distances that you can get at different speeds. So I just want to show here, Cat 5e can support up to 5 gigs. So if your customer's already got Cat 5e, you aren't going to be able to do 10 gig on their existing copper without replacing it, but you can do up to 5 gig. Cat 6 cables can do 10 gig, but the distance is less. So it's only 55 meters instead of the standard 100 meters that you would get with other slower speeds. So if you need to do 10 gigs and you need to do more than 55 meters, you do have to have Cat 6a deployed to be able to do those longer reaches. The other thing I wanted to talk about here is when it comes to our PoE. So there's a couple things going on here. One of them is the PoE output power, and we get a lot of questions on this. So for instance, one of our Wi-Fi 7 access points, the actual PoE power draw that it requires is, I think, 29 watts. It may even be 27 watts. And people will say, well, why doesn't it work with PoE Plus? Since PoE Plus, the standard is 30 watts of power. And that has to do with the fact that the power output is measured at the Ethernet port on the switch itself. That's just this industry standard. That's how it works. But as those cables run over long distances, you do lose some of that power over the transmission distance. So in this case here, 30-watt PoE at the switch only results in a 25.5 watts based on the spec at the device that needs to be powered up. So if the AP needs 27 watts, it may work on a short cable run, but on a longer cable run, the power coming out at the other end of that PoE Ethernet line is only 25.5 watts, so it's not enough to cover the product. So that's something which causes confusion and causes some support calls. So I did want to go over that the wattage drop. So you can see here with PoE++, it's a 60 watt PoE standard, but it only gets down to 51 watts at the end of the 100-meter cable run. And that's also assuming that the cables are good. If the cables have been there for a while, they may have degraded. People may have stepped on them. They may have been kinked, and that may lower this even more than what this industry spec is for what it's supposed to be able to do. The other thing I do want to talk about here when it comes to our switches is we have a consumption mode on our switches, which allows you to get more PoE devices on the same switch for the same PoE budget than maybe you could on some of our competitors. And the reason for that is when you plug in a device, it identifies itself as to what class of PoE power it requires. And then the switch is supposed to allocate that amount of power out of the budget for the device. The problem you run into is there are some big jumps between these different classes of products. So you can see here 30 watts is class 4, 15.4 watts is class 3. So if you have a device that needs 17 watts of power, it will identify itself as class 4, and the switch will reserve 30 watts of power for it, even though the device only needs 17 watts. So most of our switches have the ability to monitor the connected device, realize it only draws 17 watts of power, and can free up the rest of that PoE budget to use on another device. So because of that, you can put more devices on one of our switches than maybe some of our competitors, even though the PoE budget is the same. And then also just to highlight here, we do sell our own SFPs. So if you need SFP modules, we do sell those. We also sell our own direct attached cables if you're doing stacking. And this is just a highlight here. We've got quite a few different models here that do support multi-gig for those of you looking for multi-gig support for your new deployments. And then for those of you that are trying to do the new higher end PoE, the new 3 radio, higher performance Wi-Fi 6E and Wi-Fi 7 products, or maybe you're doing IP cameras that are pan tilt zoot and 4K or higher that need more power, we've got quite a few switches that support PoE++ and or possibly multi-gig on them. So a lot of options there for you to choose from depending on the specific application. We do also support high power PoE injectors. So if you're adding a couple high-end APs or high-end cameras that need higher power than what your current switch provides, rather than replace the switch, you can just buy PoE injectors for a couple ports that can support up to 60 watts of PoE power and up to 5 gig multi-gig on those Ethernet ports. So moving on from switches now to our security products. We have had in the past a lot of security products that is quickly being unified in the USG Flex H series. So I did want to talk about this briefly. We used to have a VPN series of security products, an ATP series of products, and we have a USG Flex series of products. So these have all been phased out. As far as ATP and VPN, those have been phased out. And the reason we were able to phase those out is we added the features that those products had into the USG Flex series with the addition of a license. So you could just buy the standard basic USG Flex and buy an ATP license or buy a VPN appliance license to convert and add those features to a USG Flex, hence the Flex name. We are now in the process of replacing the USG Flex series with the USG Flex H series. So the H series is our next-gen platform for the Flex series. It's a whole new both hardware and software platform. We've been selling the hardware for, I think, about a year now, but the software has been taking some time to catch up to where the old USG Flex was. So if you needed higher performance and you didn't need all the features, the USG Flex H series has been the way to go. And then the USG Flex series was if you needed the full features, but you didn't need the same level of performance. So at this point in time, the H series is almost feature feature complete compared to the old USG Flex. And by July, it should be completely feature complete between the old USG Flex series and the new USG H series. So basically, the H series is going to give you all of the features of the old Flex series at much higher performance levels for roughly the same pricing. So because of that, the USG Flex series is going away and will be completely replaced with the USG Flex H series. And that transition will take place through the summer, maybe into the fall. Certain products will phase out quicker than others. Um, so I did want to make you aware of that. If you're searching listings online, you may still see ATP and VPN series listed places. And you will be seeing the Flex models eventually phasing out in place of just the H series models. On the lower sort of Soho end of things, we had what originally was called our SCR series. So that has been phased out naming wise and is now known as USG Lite. But we'd already launched some products under SCR series, so you will see both names. As those SCR series models phase out, it will just be USG Lite. So USG Lite will be our sort of Soho type security appliances, and the USG Flex H series will be our business class products going forward. Um, we're running kind of, I'm gonna skip. This is just showing some of the different features between the different models and the different licenses. I do want to talk about this because this is something that sets us apart from, say, you know, Sonic Wall and WatchGuard and stuff like that. So Zyxel is a hardware company. We're pretty good when it comes to operating system and interface and cloud, but we are not experts at content filtering, antivirus, IDP, et cetera, et cetera. So where most of our competitors create their own signatures and do their own virus research themselves, our approach to UTM or Unified Threat Management is to partner with people that are already experts in the field and get the licenses from them. So rather than doing it all in-house, we go to the experts and we license their signatures directly from them. So depending on the type of, you know, UTM service you're looking at, it may be provided by Akamai, WebRoot, Siren, Bitdefender, Trellix, Norton, etc. So I did just want to highlight there that, we try to use best-in-class solutions for our UTM rather than doing it all in-house and trying to be an expert at that as well. So when it comes to our security products, there are some things here that we give you 30-day free trials on. So even if you buy the standalone version, you can try these out. And that includes our content filtering, the ability to be able to block certain classes of website based on the type of content they do. And that includes SSL encrypted websites. We have secure Wi-Fi, which is the ability to turn our access points into a cloud managed or remotely managed VPN appliance that connects directly back to your USG Flex H series at your central office to provide remote VPN access without having to, configure a bunch of settings on the user's laptop or having to give them a VPN router, which, we may not be able to replace their existing router and you end up in a double NAT scenario. Instead, you just give them an access point that's designed to sit behind another existing router, and it'll create that secure VPN connection for them. We have our Connect and Protect, which is AP-based UTM-like security licenses that are available for a free trial. And then our Gold Security, our advanced threat protection, that is available on a 30-day free trial as well. So this is just showing here the security products, what you get with licenses versus without licenses. So you can see here, NAT is free. That includes everything. Stateful packet inspection is always part of our security appliance. DDoS prevention, that's part of all of them. VPNs support, that's across all of them. Licenses, optional security licenses, they get you our anti-malware and antivirus functionality, web filtering, content filtering, sandboxing and zero-day threat prevention using AI and sandboxing, intrusion detection and prevention, application patrol, the ability to create firewall rules, not just based on type of traffic and port, but allowing you to go through a list, a drop-down list, of different applications and features in those applications that you can create your policy rules based on. Reputation filter, being able to block websites based on the reputation of their IP. Anti-spam functionality, reporting, ability to generate cloud reports, etc. That all requires a license. Some of the other licenses here that we have that I didn't touch on: Geo Enforcer, the ability here to do security profile sync, endpoint security with Astra, and then some other services that are built into our firewalls that you may not be aware of. We have the ability to convert our USG Flex into an SD-WAN appliance. So if you're looking for SD-WAN, we can do that for you. We have the ability to support device high availability. We have the ability to use your security router there as a managed AP, basically an AP controller. That software is built in there for you, etc. This is just showing here globally, we've got pretty good market share when it comes to some of the lower end security appliances. Not so much here in North America, unfortunately. So just showing here, we have you have a Zyxel account, which you should be using, and that unifies everything together. So that works with our Nebula platform. That works with our My Zyxel platform, which is the platform you use to keep an eye and manage your customers' USG Flex products and their security licenses. It's what you use to log into SecuReporter for reporting. And it's the same account you would use to be able to buy licenses online through either Circle or through the Nebula interface. So this is just a highlight here. Nebula is our cloud managed platform. We also have something called Zyxel One Network for those of you doing local management. And the idea behind Zyxel One Network is a series of tools that are available out there that make it easier for you to manage a standalone network when you're not using the cloud. Basically, we have a zone utility which can detect your Zyxel One Network compatible appliances and give you a list of all of the devices on the network, the type of device, the model number, the serial number, and the IP address, and a button to be able to go in and manage them. Some other tools and things like that to make it a little bit easier for you to manage your network if you're not using the cloud. For those of you wanting to learn more about Zyxel products, we do have our webinars, but we actually have a proper organized and controlled way of doing education. So we have a dedicated online education center that you can use yourself or your employees can go through to learn about managing and using our devices. And we have various levels of certification. By default, entry level is free for everyone, and the rest require you to pay. But if you're here today, it's probably because you are a Zyxel partner. And one of the benefits of the Zyxel partner program is you can reach out to your salesperson and they can give you free certificates to be able to get yourself certified using our equipment. So if you're looking for that more detailed, nuts and bolts, step-by-step education on configuring and using our products, use the Education Center and they will take you through all of that. For those of you looking to buy licenses or looking to buy stuff online, we do have some different online services that I do want to talk about and explain to you what the differences of them are. So we have what is called the Zyxel store. This is where we sell products direct to anybody. This is our web store you can go to. Pricing on here should pretty much always be our street price for people to buy from. This is actually fulfilled by Amazon. So when you buy through the Zyxel store, it's shipped to you from Amazon. We have what's called Marketplace, and this is where people can go to buy a Zyxel license, whether it's a Nebula license or a security license, that's where you go. And Nebula itself, through the Nebula interface, it links to Marketplace for being able to sell licenses. But you're here because you're one of our partners. So we have something called Circle, which allows you to buy licenses online and get a discount off those licenses. So you're not paying full street price like you would if you were buying from Marketplace. And Circle also integrates with Nebula. So you can go into Nebula, tell it, hey, this customer, I want all of their licenses to be ProPack, and I want them all to, and I want some security licenses, and I want them all to expire in November next year. It will spit out a list of licenses for you to purchase. And then you can click through and it can take you over to Circle, and you can buy them directly online at Circle and have them applied back to that organization automatically. So that's some of the cool features that Circle offers for you. Now, obviously, you can still buy your licenses through distribution just like you do today. There's no problem with that. And when you do buy through distribution, you probably will be getting a better price than you would if you bought through Circle. So Marketplace is street price. Circle has a discount off of street price for those of you that are partners. And then, distribution, you get your bronze, silver, or gold discount there. And so my way of explaining this is if you need something right away, you need the ease of buying and deploying the licenses back to the org, use Circle. If you need the best possible price and you don't mind waiting a day or two for license fulfillment, buy through distribution. It's your choice to use whichever one you want to use. So again, let's go back a slide here. Circle is for you as a partner. That's where you should be buying your licenses. Marketplace is for the end user. So if you are one of our resellers, don't use Marketplace, use Circle. And with that, we are done with today's webinar. So again, if you have questions, send them in. I know we covered a lot. It's a lot to take in. Well, I'm waiting to see if someone types something up here. All of our webinars get recorded and get uploaded to our YouTube. Again, we're a global company with a lot of different global offices. Each office has their own channels. So for the US, we are Zyxel America channel. Almost every webinar will be uploaded there within 24 hours of it being presented here. It's also where you can find things like video case studies, best practices videos, new product introductions, etc. And if you're one of those LinkedIn people, we are on LinkedIn as Zyxel US channel. That would be the North American office. And lastly, we do have user forums, forum.zyxel.com. So that's for Zyxel users and resellers to be able to talk and support each other. But these forums are monitored by our R&D and our product management team. Sometimes they will even wade in and answer questions and do some troubleshooting for you. Although that's not their main goal. They're mostly monitoring it to see what sort of issues and feature requests people have. It's also generally the first place you will find security announcements, firmware update announcements, things like that. Okay, no questions have come in, so I'm going to go ahead and end today's webinar. If you do have questions, excuse me, you can reach out to your salesperson, Jacob, Andy, or David. Or you can always just email me directly. My email's up there on the screen. For those of you just listening, it's SeanR@Zyxel.com. And Sean is spelled phonetically, SHAWN, and then the letter R. And I've got something that just popped up. Oh, someone sent something in with Q&A. Oh, just a thank you. Thanks, Martin. And again, we'll be reaching out to you shortly about some DAS stuff. And thank you, everyone else, for joining. I hope I see you at one of our other webinars. And feel free to reach out to me or your other Zyxel staff if you have any questions, feedback, comments, anything like that. Thank you.